Welcome to the Flight Club Podcast, a woman's guide to leaning out. We give you a behind-the-scenes look at business launch and growth through the stories of successful female entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Felina Hansen, founder and CEO of Hera Hub.
Hello and welcome. I'm excited for my conversation today with Dr. Scarlett, who is an integrative women's health and autoimmune disease specialist with over 13 years of experience. Dr. Scarlett has had the privilege of helping thousands of women integrating the field of traditional Chinese medicine, including TCM, gynecology and reproductive health, and functional medicine. She is a licensed primary care provider here in California. She's an acupuncturist, an herbalist certified by the California Acupuncture Board, as well as by the National Certification Commission for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. Welcome to the show today, Dr. Scarlett.
I'm so happy to be here, Felina. Thank you.
I'm excited to share your story. You're from one of my favorite countries. I've recently learned you are from Jamaica.
Iriman, as you would say, yes.
Amazing. I spent some time there with some friends of mine years ago, and just what a beautiful, amazing, welcoming country.
I agree wholeheartedly. Beautiful people, beautiful culture. Thank you.
Yes. Do you make it back often?
Not often. I'm planning to go at the end of this year with my mom and my sister. Not as often as I'd like, really, but I will be heading back to get some of that good Jamaican beach weather and food.
And food, yes. Such good food. Amazing. I love it. And then you came to New Jersey, came to the U.S. at age 20. Is that right?
Actually, I came into New York first and then eventually made my way to New Jersey. So it was a huge shift for me, coming from a laid-back island life to more cosmopolitan and really intense.
That's the most dramatic, I think, jump you can make, New York City from Jamaica. That's pretty impressive.
Yes, I had to learn real fast.
Yes, exactly. And what brought you to the States?
Really looking for the American dream. You know, we hear it's land flowing with milk and honey, so to speak. Lots of opportunities and possibilities to really make a really good life. So I wanted that for myself.
Absolutely. Awesome. And did it hold up to your expectations?
It took a few years. However, yes, I am grateful for where I am in my life, and thanks to America for that.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. Let's talk about education a bit, and then we'll talk a bit about your career path. You've had your business for quite some time, 10 or so years. Is that right?
That is correct. I started my practice in 2014.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's talk about what you did prior to 2014. I see here electronic engineering. Talk a bit about that, if you would.
It's been an interesting journey for me, educational wise. I think if I were to be able to live forever, I would go through many different career cycles. So initially, actually, I started out in corporate travel when I was in New York and New Jersey, and then transitioned into engineering after being subject to a few layoffs when the economy tanked a bit. So meeting and events budgets tend to get put to the side when the economy is shifting. So I found that I had an aptitude for more technical stuff, and started out at Rutgers actually for the engineering degree. However, as a full-time single parent and also working a full-time job and going to school full-time at nights, I could not continue at Rutgers to get that degree. So I actually went to DeVry in the evening. So I had a full-time job, being a full-time mom, and going to school full-time in the evenings to complete the engineering degree. So I shifted from electrical engineering to electronic engineering. And I was fortunate that I got a job prior to graduating and worked for a semiconductor company in Red Bank, New Jersey, in the research and development department.
How was that? How did you enjoy that career?
It was very interesting and exciting. I was actually the first Black woman in that department.
Oh, wow.
So it had its fair share of challenges because I was not what was normally seen in that type of environment. However, I had really good mentors who guided me through and helped me to kind of traverse that process and be able to hold my own in that organization.
And how long were you in engineering total?
About 5.5 years.
Okay.
And there were some fluctuations again because I worked in the semiconductor industry when the dot-com failures and other issues happened. Then engineers were out of a job. We had a few rounds of layoffs, and eventually I made the third cut, so to speak, and was out of a job as an engineer.
How did that feel?
Very disheartening because my understanding was doctors and teachers and engineers were never out of work. And this really challenged that model. So I had to figure out what I wanted to do next. I love engineering. I had planned to continue my career to go ahead and get my master's degree in electrical engineering. So I had already started that process. Then I had to take a step back and look at what I really wanted to do. And interestingly enough, during that time, I started having some health challenges. Excuse me. That progressively got worse because I was in a very stressful environment, meeting a lot of deadlines. And I still didn't know a lot about how to really balance my life. So I had to kind of make a decision as to what I wanted to do. And I wasn't able to work for a little while because of my health and, kind of put things on hold for a bit in terms of a career.
Yeah, and this is all while you're building a family?
Yeah, I have, yes, still as a single parent. Yes.
Wow. Okay, so when was the shift from engineering to healthcare?
So I knew I wanted to do something different with my health. I kept going to doctors. So I was diagnosed with adult onset asthma in my mid-30s and had a real challenge adjusting to that because I felt, as a type A personality, I felt that was not an option for me. It seemed like there was a defect, so to speak. So I had to fix it. Right? And the only way I knew at the time was going to the medical doctors. And after a few too many emergency room visits, I realized I'm on the medications, I'm on nebulizers and so on. I needed to do something different. And I started looking at other options. I was borrowing books and, not so much on the internet then, but going to the library to kind of figure out what more natural or more holistic way, and I didn't know that word then, what was a more natural way of managing the asthma and reversing it, even though I was being told that I would have to live with this for the rest of my life. It would never be reversed. I'd be on medication, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't hear that part of it. I chose not to tie into that. And then, over time, other things showed up in my life with my health. And again, I kept digging deeper and deeper to find more holistic ways. And I realized one of them was changing my diet. I have a huge sweet tooth. I love treats, thanks to my mother with her home baking. And so that was one of the challenges for me, is giving up dairy, giving up the bread and all of that. I didn't know about that until later. And giving up the sweets, which were a challenge. But I wanted so much to feel better and to be back in control of my health and my life that I was willing to make the adjustments. And so I shifted my diet to more vegetarian lifestyle.
And did that make a difference?
It did. Once I took dairy, because I loved ice cream, once I took dairy out of the picture, I had less of the lung congestion. And I was able to wean off prednisone, and I wasn't needing my rescue inhaler as often, and I wasn't making as many emergency room visits and all of that. So I saw the shift and like, oh, there is a thing to this. And so that started my journey into looking at more healthful lifestyle. And actually, to be selfish, I wanted to get what I call perfect health. So that was my journey. I wanted perfect health.
Wow. Have you achieved that?
Well, I realized through my foreign medical school that there's no such thing as perfect health. There's always this constant ebb and flow, and we
Yes.
have to, it's a daily process, a very conscious process in choosing how we manage our health and our life. And that food is a huge part of keeping our bodies healthy. So,
Absolutely.
no, there's no perfect health.
Mhm.
However, you can get as close to perfection as you can by maintaining an appropriate healthy diet that's ideal for you as an individual.
Yeah, absolutely. So you made a huge pivot and you said, okay, I'm so interested in this. I am going to become a doctor.
Close enough, not quite. So I
Okay.
had chronic migraines. I had chronic migraines for a lot of years, 13 plus years,
Oh
and
my
I was on
goodness.
medications and so on. And one of the days I was in Florida, I actually went into a health food store that I always go to. It was my weekly thing. And I was at the cashier and I saw a card with an acupuncture company name. And I said to the cashier, you know anything about acupuncture? Can it? And she says, oh, I heard great things about this lady, this doctor. And I'm like, oh, I'm terrified of needles. And she said, well, I heard really good things. And I thought, I should give it a try, the word try. So eventually I was desperate enough to get off medication for the migraine headaches because it was really wrecking my life. And I went to this lady, this doctor of Chinese medicine, very terrified. And I went in and she was looking at my tongue and asking me questions about my diet and my elimination. And I thought, this is really weird. Anyway, I went with the flow because I wanted a shift. And I figured if you don't do anything different, you're not going to get any different results. And so I went in, I had the treatment. Kind of interesting that she put needles on my head, on my feet, on my hands, on my belly. And I thought, okay, we'll see how this is going to go. Being very skeptical, kind of cautiously hopeful. And I went to her probably about 6 or 7 times. And then I woke up one day and I realized I don't have a headache. This was new because I had a headache every morning when I woke up and it just got worse. That got my attention when I didn't have a headache. And then it was not just one day, it was a few days and then a week and then months. I'm like, ooh, this is good. I like this. And then I had other issues that I went back to her for because I had chronic anxiety. I had stomach ulcers because of the stressful lifestyle that I led. Balancing, there's no such balance I had at the time, work and family and everything else, just trying to make my way. And it kept resolving these challenges that I had with my health. And I thought, wow, growing up, I wanted to be a doctor or a teacher. Those were the two things I thought of when I was growing up in Jamaica. I had gotten into pre-med. My parents had paid the money, but I wanted to come to America to follow my dreams. So I never did do the pre-med program. So the thought of being a doctor came back into my mind, but it was really more from my perspective of, oh, I can continue to heal my body and get better. Secondary to that was the thought that I don't know anybody who looks like me, no one in my family who even knew about acupuncture or Chinese medicine. So that was an interesting moment for me. And I have never really walked the path like anybody else. Everybody's going left, I'm going right, doing my own thing. So it wasn't so strange, right? And I decided to look into the Chinese medicine school. And that's kind of where it started. I started in Florida into a very rigorous program. And actually, the doctor who treated me for the various health challenges, she had to write a letter stating that I was mentally, physically, and emotionally able to deal with the rigors of their program for me to be able to get into the program. So it was an exciting time and brought me to where I am today, and I'm very grateful.
Amazing. Okay, let's get into your business. I know you have a specialty and a passion in helping women, specifically. Talk about your business and your practice and who you serve and what you do.
So I have my practice right now in Carlsbad, and my focus is women's health because women, we run things, right? And if women don't take care of themselves, the families don't get taken care of. That was my premise for one. Women make the decisions regarding the family's health and well-being. So my focus is women's health, and it's where I have the experience because of my own journey with illness. So initially it was a very general practice. I saw all kinds of chronic conditions, pain, and so on. And as time went by, I realized stress is a huge factor in what's going on in women's lives. So helping them to manage their stress. So I use Chinese medicine, acupuncture, herbs, supplementation, and other lifestyle tools that I teach them about helping them to manage their stress so that they have better sleep, more energy, that type of thing. Then I started seeing more individuals coming in, young women about in their early 30s who are having trouble getting pregnant or staying pregnant. And I realized this is actually happening in more epidemic proportions, where more and more couples are having a real challenge in being able to start or grow their families. So I started to focus my continuing education in terms of supporting couples who are wanting to have babies. So more of the infertility field, male factor infertility, females with all kinds of issues, whether it's unexplained infertility or recurring miscarriage or anything like that. And what I found a big part of that is there is a cross section of individuals, primarily women, who also have a thyroid dysfunction. And that thyroid is affecting their chronic pain. It's affecting their fertility. It's affecting their menstrual cycle, a cascade of symptoms that are showing up for individuals. And if they have a thyroid disorder, it's most likely they also have another autoimmune disease that may be in the background, just waiting for the right set of circumstances to manifest. And so I've been really focused on helping women to be aware of what's going on in their bodies. We have conversations and in-depth intake process to find out where the triggers are. Is it work-related? Is it a combination of their diet? Are they exercising too much or not enough? Are they not managing their stress? Are they not getting enough sleep? So it's a host of things that could be happening that's causing dysfunction or imbalance in their bodies. And again, I know best how to treat that because primarily from my journey as well and my clinical experience working with a lot of women.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, so much to dive into here. This is, we could talk for days about, sort of East versus West in regards to, how the medical industry treats folks. I've had so many friends who have been through fertility issues and have done some significant things, to get pregnant. And, it's refreshing to hear somebody say, you know what, let's dial this back and really look at the underlying issues here, as opposed to rushing into these very disruptive, expensive treatments that a lot of women go through.
That's so true. And the idea is to get to women sooner than later. If they're thinking about getting pregnant, let's take a look first at that to see what your health looks like before you jump into the part about getting pregnant and so on. Because if you don't have the fertile ground and the health in place to support that, you're going to have challenges. And that's the real idea, is to get women to start thinking ahead of time. You're thinking you want to have a family. Let's have a conversation first around what your health looks like now. Let's equip you with the tools that you can manage your health very aggressively, so to speak, to be able to get the best outcomes that you want. And I had the opportunity to work with some veterans as well, who are veteran wives who are dealing with fertility challenges and managing, of course, with their partners, their aspects with chronic pain and so on. So it's all interconnected, and it's really getting to the root, which is really what Chinese medicine is about, getting to the root and treating the root to be able to affect the manifestations or the symptoms that we deal with.
Yeah. Okay, I want to go back to the thyroid. This might be it is seemingly a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. What exactly does the thyroid do? Why is it so important?
The thyroid produces hormones that affect almost every single organ in your body. It regulates your temperature. It regulates your heart rate. It affects your digestion. It affects your brain health. It affects your gut health. So when there is a dysfunction with the thyroid, it shows up in many areas of the body. It affects your fertility. It affects your ability to sleep. It can create the fight or flight response where you always feel jittery or anxious and you can't seem to figure out why I can't feel relaxed in my body. So it's a host of things. If you're constantly feeling really hot or constantly feeling cold and can't seem to regulate your body temperature, thyroid could be playing a role in that.
Wow. Okay. Good to
It's a
know.
master regulator in the body.
Yeah, exactly. That thermostat that's on the wall that does it all.
Yes.
Interesting. And talk a bit, maybe a success story you could share. Talk a bit about some of the clients that you've worked with over the last 10 or so years. Again, maybe a success story that you could share of someone.
Fertility. I had a couple come in. They had been trying for probably 6-7 years unsuccessfully. They never got pregnant at all. And the doctors were flabbergasted, have no idea, because everything looked great on paper in terms of the labs, looking at her menstrual flow, her husband's semen analysis, everything was really perfect on paper. So they couldn't figure out why she was having this challenge not being able to get pregnant. And so she came into me, very skeptical. Husband didn't want to come, and that is often the case. But he was willing to follow my advice with regard to making lifestyle changes and dietary changes and taking certain supplements that would help to enhance his semen as well. It took about maybe 3-4 months, and her cycle was still pretty regular. However, what she wasn't having anymore were the PMS symptoms. She wasn't having the breast tenderness or the irritability and all of that. And in Chinese medicine, that has a place. We know what that is, and we know how to regulate it, because that's not a typical part of the menstrual cycle. It's not normal. Even though many women have that, they think it's normal. So we did the first few months with that, got that regulated, and then worked on, of course, in all of that, working with managing her stress, getting her sleep on track. So she was going to bed at a decent time, not at 1 a.m, helping her to sleep through the night. And it was about maybe 4 or 5 months. I said not to actively try to get pregnant, but they did. And they were able to deliver a beautiful baby boy 9 months later. And for me, that was amazing. In the fact that I was able to do just basic things, talk about dietary changes, managing stress, getting sleep under control, and bring some semblance of balance in terms of prioritizing what is important for your quality of life. And to see this beautiful child. And now I call myself the godmother, the fertility godmother, because I was able to help them achieve a dream that they didn't think they would have been able to accomplish after trying over 5 years and not getting any answers, because no one knew. They said, we don't know what's going on, why you're not getting pregnant, and that's kind of it. But they thought they would try something else before actually going to the IVF route. And don't get me wrong, I work with patients who are already going on the IVF route, and I help to support them pre and post as well, and during the process. And I do work with some reproductive endocrinologists here in the area. So it's not saying, it's using everything in my toolbox to help people to get what they want. So I'm celebrating with the mothers who've come to me, who are now mothers who've come to me with their babies, and I see the babies and I have pictures of the babies, and kind of keeping track of their growth and all of that, and celebrating the milestones with them. That's really rewarding and fulfilling.
I can only imagine. My goodness. Do you have a sense of how many folks that you've helped over the last 10 years? If you had to guess.
I'd say conservatively, probably 20, 30 who were not getting anything. And then there are those who had a recurring miscarriage, maybe a couple hundred, because I worked with them during my clinical rotation as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's talk about the name of your business, Red Lotus Wellness Center. Why the Red Lotus?
The Red Lotus is elusive. It's not prolific in occurring in nature. However, red in Chinese medicine symbolizes passion and prosperity and all of that. And the lotus itself signifies this beauty that comes out of this murky water. So it's from the travails of ill health or whatever your life circumstances, this beauty can come about from it if you have the resources to help you through it. And Red, of course, Scarlett is my last name, so it seemed like it tied in really well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to in your business? What are some of the things you're working on?
Working more to bring my message to a broader base. So looking at creating a couple of online programs. One of them is a 30 days to optimal fertility. And it's really to help individuals who are thinking about getting pregnant to get started in the process. So preparing the fertile ground to enhance there so it's easier for them to get pregnant and stay pregnant. The other one is also optimal thyroid health. For those who they have a thyroid diagnosis, they're still struggling despite being on medication, to see where the loopholes are, where the holes are that I can help to plug with Chinese medicine and using an integrative medicine approach to helping them fill that gap to get their thyroid regulated so they can get back to living and feeling well.
Beautiful. And if folks want to find you, follow you, reach out to you, is redlotuswellnesscenter.com the best place for them to do that?
That is correct. redlotuswellnesscenter.com and you'll see my website. And also on Instagram, it is Red Lotus Wellness Center as well.
And one last question, Dr. Scarlett, if folks aren't here in Southern California, but they want to maybe learn from you, I know you've got, you're talking about building a program, really helping folks online. Are there other ways you do consults like telehealth as well?
I do offer virtual consults or telehealth, yes. And for those who are not in my immediate area in Southern California, they wanted to work with me, we certainly can do so. And we would talk about what that looks like in terms of, first they have a consultation, so yes, virtually done, and then see how best I can help them and if we're a good fit, and then take it from there. So yes, certainly I can help. I'm not restricted just to my geography.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Scarlett, for sharing your story with me.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Felina.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Flight Club, sponsored by Hera Hub. We look forward to sharing more success stories with you soon.